every night, the first 5 to 7 minutes of the speech will be dedicated for ahkam, inshallah. I will be giving you some points of ahkam, mostly on the views in accordance with the decree of Ayatollah Sistani. But as you know, 95% of those ahkams are basically in common with the rest of the ulama. Basically, I choose the ones that have consensus among the scholars. This is a mandatory thing. All scholars say at the beginning of their risala, the issues, the problems that we face daily, it's a mandatory thing that we learn the ahkam for it, the regulations and the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has pertained for such issues. In the hadith, من أراد الله بعبد خيرا فقهه بالدين. If God would want someone to be good and shower him with blessings, with mercy, He would make him educated in the faith and religion. Therefore, a few minutes at the beginning of the speech, I will dedicate it to the topic of fiqh. And I will start from fasting, because we have started this month. We will go through the ahkam of fasting. If there is any time left, inshallah, we will talk about different issues. Fasting, as you know, brothers and sisters, is considered to be one of the 10 items of furu' al-din. We have usul al-din, and we have furu' al-din. Usul al-din are 5 conceptual things. Those are beliefs, ideologies, not practices. The practices are involved in furu' al-din. In usul al-din, there is no way that we follow the maraja. For example, if someone asks me, why do you believe in God? I would not say because my parents or because the scholar has said, there is Allah, then I have to believe in Him. No. Rather, it is due to our nature as a human being. We have to believe in those 5 pillars, ideological pillars of Islam. And those are called the usul al-din. On the other side, we have the 10 of furu' al-din. They are mostly practices. In those practices, we have to follow the scholars of Islam. Any person has to have one of those 3 conditions. Either he by himself is a mujtahid, meaning he reads the secrets, the ahadith, the principle, and he himself is able to deduct the hukum himself. Of course, none of us live in this country or even in North America as a whole who's considered to be a true mujtahid who can deduct the ahkam. So this does not apply to any of us here. The second group is the one who makes ihtiyat, meaning cautious. Something, one scholar says this is okay, you can do, permissible. The other scholar says no, you cannot do. Therefore, you have to be cautious. You do not do that thing. It's not permissible for you. This is considered to be ihtiyat. Ihtiyat is very difficult to choose because you have to know all the decrees of the fuqaha, of the maraja, and then you choose the hardest one. Something that would make your life very tough. Therefore, that is also not applicable to us. The third one, which is the easier one, is to follow the mujtahid, the one who has all the conditions of ijtihad. You will choose a person to follow. And there are, alhamdulillah, we have plenty of those maraja, either in Iran or in Iraq, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prolong their lives. So, Siyam is considered one of those 10 of furu' al-din. And it is a necessity in Islam, meaning if someone by his thought negates Siyam, says that fasting is not wajib, there is no such a thing in Islam called fasting, that person is considered to be blasphemous, kafir. It's a necessity, it's considered to be a necessity in Islam. There are 4 kinds of fasting. The first kind is wajib, something that mandatory, you have to do it. For example, during the month of Ramadan, everybody who is eligible for fasting has to perform this ibadah, this worship. Also, Sawm al-Nadhr, meaning that you promise God if he does certain things for you, fulfill your needs, your prayers, then you do fasting, that fasting becomes also wajib, mandatory. We have a mustahab, meaning advisory. Like the fasting of the day of Arafah, fasting of 15th of Sha'ban, or the entire month of Sha'ban and Rajab, those are all considered advisory fasting. A third kind of fasting is makruh, meaning that you will get less thawab if you do it. In other times than Ramadan, if you perform a fasting that causes you weakness, meaning you cannot go to work, you cannot do the prayers correctly, you cannot visit your parents, you cannot visit your brothers and sisters, you get headache later on, that keeps you at home, the ulama say this kind of fasting is makruh, do not do it. Why? Because your relationship with your parents, with your brothers and sisters, has a priority over the fasting. And the last kind of fasting is the haram. During the Eidain, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, fasting is considered to be forbidden. No one can do the fasting. Those are the 4 kinds of fasting. The first condition of fasting, brothers and sisters, is the intention. You have to have an intention for fasting. Fasting is a worship. Any worship has to have an intention. What is an intention? Is it something that you have to say it verbally? Meaning you have to articulate that I am going to be fasting tomorrow for the holy month of Ramadan, qurbatan ila Allah ta'ala. No, you don't have to do this. The fact that you keep in your mind what you are doing, meaning you are doing an act deliberately. You came to this masjid. Did you come by knowing what you're doing, or you came absent-mindedly? Obviously you came and you know for what reason you are coming to the masjid. You came here to perform the prayers, to participate with your brothers and sisters and listen to the majalis. This is your intention. The same thing with the fasting of Ramadan. The fact that you know what you are doing, plus the intention of qurba, meaning closeness to God. This is the true intention of fasting. Sometimes we do fasting, but not for intention of God. The doctor prescribes a medicine for me, tell me tomorrow you have to go to the lab and take a blood test. Therefore you have to be fasting for 12 hours. So I do the fasting for 12 hours. This kind of fasting is not acceptable. It has to have the intention of being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any other intention will invalidate the fasting. Are you with me so far? صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. One criteria of the intention, it has to be continuous, meaning you cannot discontinue the intention. For any minute you are in doubt. For example, tomorrow morning, you get up, you say, should I continue fasting or not? Meaning that you have casted doubt on your fasting. The minute that you cast a doubt on your fasting becomes invalid. You should have this intention continuously from dawn until dusk. Completely, you have to have this intention that you are fasting. Now we have 3 kinds of intentions. Depends on the nature of your fasting. You have a fasting that is wajib. Like what? Like Shahr Ramadan. And during the month of Ramadan, your intention should be before the dawn of the day. Meaning that in order for you to fast tomorrow, your intention should be valid before the dawn tonight. You make the intention for the fasting of that day. And by the way, it is mustahab tonight to make the intention for the fasting of the entire month, inshallah. And keep this intention every night. So for a wajib, like Ramadan, which is specific, the intention has to be before dawn. But after Ramadan, for example, you travel, you break your fasting for 3-4 days. When you make up for this fasting during the year, you can have the intention before noon of that day. For example, you slept, you didn't eat suhoor, you did not even have intention to fast, but you got up in the morning, you saw yourself healthy, you don't have to, you're not that hungry, and you can wait. It is winter, only 11 hours, and the adhan will be gone for the Salat al-Maghrib. Therefore, you make the intention to make a fasting as a makeup for your fasting of Ramadan, for the break of fasting of Ramadan. You are allowed to do the intention prior to noon of that day. So this is the second kind of intention. The third kind of intention is when you do a mustahab. Fasting is mustahab. In 15th of Ramadan, for example, 10th of 9th of Dhul Hajjah, day of Arafah. For mustahab, you are entitled, you have the permission to make the fasting even 2 minutes prior to Maghrib. For example, you slept that day. You got up, you saw that it's only 5 more minutes left to sunset. At that time, you make an intention that I will be fasting for the day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will consider that as a valid to make it easy for you to do the fasting. So those are the 3 kinds of intention. Now, what is the range of fasting? What is the duration? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explicitly says this. It says, فَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ. Eat and drink and do the lawful things until you see the line, the dark line. You distinguish between the light line from the dark line from dawn. What is dark and white lines? There are 2 kinds of fajr, 2 kinds of dawn. One is considered to be kadhib, bogus, not true. That kind of dawn starts 15 minutes prior to the true dawn. It's a vertical line. Of course, here in in North America cannot be seen. In the cities cannot be seen due to so many lights available. Maybe if you go outside of the city where there's darkness, probably you can see this kind of line. It's a vertical line that appears in the heart of the sky toward the east. This is considered to be kadhib, untrue. This is not the dawn. Fuqaha say, and this is not considered the dawn. After 15 minutes, this line disappears. It's like a wolf tail. It's called dhanab al-sarhan in Arabic. That appears in the hearts of the sky and then disappears after a while. A vertical line. After that, the Fajr al-Sadiq, the true Fajr, start to come in the horizon, which is horizontal from the east. As you stare at it, you see that it's getting bigger and bigger. This is the true dawn. From that moment, you start fasting. Until when? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ثُمَّ أَتُمُّ الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ, until night. Now, what is the definition of night? There are many scholars who disagree. What is night? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains what is night. He says in another ayah, He says, وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ آيَتَيْنِ. We have created darkness, night, and day at 2 signs. فَمَحَوْنَا آيَةَ اللَّيْلِ وَجَعَلْنَا آيَةَ النَّهَارِ مُبْصَرًا. During the night, you cannot see. Things become invisible. This is the characteristics of night. While during nahar or day, everything is visible. This is the meaning of night. Now the ulama say that during sunset, still you can see things. Things are still obvious, you can see them. But after 15 minutes to 20 minutes, it becomes very difficult for you to see. You need to have light. Now the ulama has precisely defined that time. They say that, and here is a guideline. You can check it by yourself. You don't need to look at the calendar, 10 minutes to 20 minutes, 15 minutes. This is very easy. You go, outdoor, look at the skies. Look at the redness of the skies, from east until top of your head. If you do not see any redness, it means that it is the Maghrib, the true Maghrib, the Shari'i Maghrib. The ulama says, ذهاب الحمرة المشرقية. After sunset, between 10 to 20 minutes, there is time that this redness in the sky disappears. You can take a look by yourself. In some regions it is 10 minutes, in some regions it's 25 minutes. So it depends on where you are. The simple thing that you look, once you do not see any redness, at that time Maghrib, the true Maghrib has showed up. Now the ulama say the criteria for finding any time, not only Maghrib, you have Maghrib, you have Dhuhr, Asr, Isha. Who designate those? Either by yourself, you go take a look and find out, or you rely on someone who's reliable, trustworthy, and knowledgeable, like the mu'adhin. Not now. Now the mu'adhineen, at this time they go by the calendar. They check the calendar and they start reciting the calling for the adhan. But before, the mu'adhin used to go outdoor and look into the horizon, find out whether the time of Fajr. As at that time, he would consider that as the waqt, the legal time for that period. If you know a mu'adhin who has that capability, who's knowledgeable enough and trustworthy, once he calls for the adhan, you can follow him. Either you abstain from eating and start your fasting, or breaking your fasting. Now, many have asked me about this time period, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, that is called imsak. You know, we have, for example, 3:52 is the time of Fajr. But we do the imsak, stop from eating and drinking 20 minutes before. Is this mandatory? No, it is not mandatory, brothers and sisters. This is a cautionary. We don't have something called imsak. If you can pinpoint exactly what time is the Fajr, you don't have to do imsak. You can eat and drink 1 minute before that. But since we don't know for sure what time is the Fajr, this is all done based on calculations. It is the oceanography department has made the sunset, the moon set, and the sunrise, and we follow those. Those are based on calendars. So if you can pinpoint for sure what time is your adhan al-subh, the dawn of prayers, you don't have to follow the imsak. Inshallah, after the speech, anyone has a question, I will be at your service. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل